Music worldwide with Dan Blake.
Mr. Worldwide, baby.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
You didn't have to brush your hair and all that stuff, dude. Like, you're come as you are. You're beautiful as you are.
I've done it for you and me.
Well, okay, in the spirit of I thought I would tidy up a little bit as well. How are you?
I'm good. Very good. It's good to see you. You're looking well, looking vibrant.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
No problem. And before we kick off, I just want to make sure I pronounce your name right. So, are we going with, is it Shingai or Shingai?
Yeah, call me Shingai. That's what most people call me. It's more of a nickname, but I'm happy with Shingai. Shingai is like, you know, when your mum's kind of telling you, oh, Shingai.
Shingai, then. Okay, sorry. You know, the Insta tends to do this freezing thing here and there, so we may have to, improvise a bit, but we'll be good.
That's cool. I mean, I can see you. I can see a bit of sunshine. Just in your window there.
It ain't too bad out here. It's all right. Looking, yeah. Someone out there jogging, doing their thing. It's all good. So what part of the world you in right now?
Yeah, so right now I'm just at my mum's in Kent, where we've been doing this like family stream for the last 12 weeks actually. So we had our last one on Saturday, and then I was like, let me just stay for a bit and just get some family time in, because these are unpredictable times, and I think it's important to be around loved ones and family and just in a safe space. So I'm very grateful to have that. So I'm out of London for a little minute.
Wow, I love that. And
What about
me?
Where are you?
I'm in like Hertfordshire area at the moment. So,
okay, nice.
Yeah, that's kind of my base at the moment. So yeah, just kicking it, chilling, talking to people, keeping my spirits up, doing some work, just keeping working, man. Keep it working, baby. And obviously, there's a lot going on right now. So regarding Black lives, that's been on my mind quite heavily. So just been trying to see what ways, talking to people, having conversations, how I can help.
Yeah.
With the sisters, how I can, just challenge what's going on right now and be a positive in what's going on right now. So just trying to stay woke and aware. And yeah, that's how I'm feeling right now, what I'm on right now, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, the vibes that you've been putting out since Lara introduced us, fabulous Lara from the Lalas. Yeah. The vibes you've been putting out on socials, yeah, they're so great. Like I saw your post yesterday, which was about doubt kills more dreams than failure.
Oh, man.
Really uplifting.
Trust me, it's such a thing. When like it's just that it's that thing, for instance, where I feel sometimes we even block our blessings. It's like you could be doing well at something, and then someone even commends you and you're doing well, and you just downplay how you're doing just to be. I get humble is all good, but there's times where like you got to look at what you're doing and think, you got to believe in yourself, man, because you have to strive, and that belief is going to push you through. So the doubt sometimes, man, you have to be careful, just to be careful with that doubt, I get it. Sometimes there's humility in there, but you got to be careful with it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, doubt can be almost like that sleeping dragon that just catches you by surprise. It can be a comment from work or something that you saw, and you never know like where it starts. But even as an artist and as a kind of international musician, I've been in the game like years deep, but I still get times and I'm like, oh, was that the right take, or should I really push this song because maybe it's more like outside of the box, but I just feel that in my spirit that's the right song to push. So thank you so much for like showing love for WarDrums, because that was a song that almost wasn't going to be a single, and thank you to Chester. I think Chester Sia just said WarDrums is a banger in his.
I love that.
And he was saying it should be on FIFA. That was like, oh, that felt quite nice. But and shout out to everyone who's joined this live. Thanks for having me. Thank you to Laura for introducing us. But yeah, WarDrums was one of those songs where, like, I knew the subject matter might be a little bit kind of just controversial, but at the end of the day, I'm like, it's still a happy song. It's uplifting. Still a banger for me. It ultimately created to give people joy. And you know what? You can still sneak a little message in and still make music, because Bob Marley has done it, Stevie Wonder, greats have had like conscious and amazing music that's uplifting. Like, just because it's conscious doesn't have to be some kind of negative protest sort of song.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of artists out there that are a little bit pranked at the moment to sort of really put their feelings into the music, because a lot of us are, you know, confined by a lot of big major labels, or we've got branding deals, and we're like thinking, oh, maybe that branding deal is not going to give me the next bit of finance I need for my campaign. But I feel like in the times that we live in, you have to be fearless, and you have to, you know, on the subject of doubt, try to play that song to other people. Don't just always play it to those in your inner circle. Like, you know, it's hard to move doubt, but sometimes if you do have doubt, it means that you're thinking about the quality of what you're doing. So it's good.
I see there's a question about WarDrums. The Accardo Rosa says, how many times did you take, how from writing the song to recording it, what was the kind of process for that? You know, he's kind of saying there.
Well, the process for WarDrums, actually, I wrote it in November 2019, just like 6-7 months ago, actually. And I collaborated with this amazing female producer, musician of colour as well. Her name is Roso. She's had a lot of amazing music out on like Ninja Tune and Big Dada, and she does production and co-writing with a lot of great artists. And her and I collaborated together in 2018 for Revolutions, which was on my EP Ancient Futures, which came out in June, July 2019. So I had such a good time working with her during Revolutions, and I found like, because me making the solo EP, it was my first time writing in an atmosphere that I just felt was a lot more kind of free. I think, you know, a lot of the times when I made a lot of big records with the Noisettes or collaborations like with Hey Hey and Dennis Ferrer, it was always like all guys in the room, you know. And then for some of the records, it was, you know, it was like me and maybe like 4 white male writers, you know, in the room who'd come from different genres and different like eras of music. So I had to find a way to find my voice through that. And so this time I was like, I want to make records with more of a variety of people. I was like, I want to, you know, explore working with more female producers and writers and more people of color, you know, that just are coming from it rhythmically from just maybe a wider perspective. That was really important to me. So I worked with Kerry again. That's Roso's real name, Kerry. And we actually started it as a halftime. So it's like 1, 2, 3, dun dun. Hard times, yeah. I've seen it all before. Hard times, yeah. Boom boom. Not running and it dun dun dun. Yeah. Dude, it was halftime, and it was like such a vibe, and it was like that until we did maybe the 3rd writing session, which was in January, and it was about a week before I was going to get the band to play all of the demos that I created. So I went in. Thank you, Edward. I had to break it down because first it almost had like a kind of backbeat reggae kind of feel, and then we just got, you know what, it's 2020, we just had New Year. I think it was the 12th of January, and I was doing my last session with her. We'd already done a couple of songs, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go into like a big studio next week with the band, and they're going to play. And there was something about the tempo of it that I was just thinking in my spirit. And actually this is something that Kerry said, that because the subject matter was just, like, so deep, she was like, I was messing around with it and I just decided to nudge it up a few BPM, and I was like, how many BPM, like, did you nudge it up? And it was literally almost double time. It was like 160 or something. And it just had this, and I was like, oh my God, this is something you could actually rave to in a club. You can dance to this. And even if you don't know what the subject matter is, because some people like, I've spoken to recently, like since being independent, they don't always listen to lyrics in music. They're like, they want to catch a vibe first. They want to catch a feeling, right? And then once that song is like, okay, this is my tune, that's when they start listening to the meaning and the lyrics and stuff. So I was like, maybe this is the best way to overcome the doubts that I was having in myself about the song kind of feeling like some of the messages were subliminally kind of political. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm talking about, you know, leaders lyrically that are supposed to like have our trust, making everybody feel, you know what I mean, like unsafe, because they're always threatening to press this bomb and press this nuclear bomb. I don't need to say any names, but I took it back to my... Yeah, exactly. What, you know, and people that warmonger and threaten people, that are, you know, in a different position to them, they're the people that are living in these mansions with all these, you know, gates and security systems. If you've experienced war, like especially, you know, like in Africa or Asia or the Caribbean, when someone wants to declare war, you bring out the drums, or you'll be like, oh, you say you want to fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, you declare that you have an issue and you deal with it head on. You don't hide behind some screen with like, I'm going to press this button, or I'm going to press this button and blow up this place that you've never been to before. That do you know what I mean? So I think the tempo, she smashed it. The tempo needed to go up. As soon as the tempo went up, I was like, it doesn't matter what the song's about. It's a banger and it's got a good vibe for me. So that was the story of WarDrums. And then we decided, since lockdown and everything else, we were like, this actually needs to be the first single. We weren't even sure if it was going to be the first single. So it just felt like, timing was right. But that's the process. Sorry to take you around it. But
right now, people tuning in worldwide is Shingai. She's here, international superstar, joins us right here on Music Worldwide with myself, Dan Blake. It's a pleasure. We're in conversation. WarDrums is the latest single. I believe it's off the album Life Sounds Dimensions. And we're looking forward to seeing what's going on with that out on the 29th of June, I do believe.
Do you know what? The dates have changed, partly because of the upheaval that we're facing in the world. I just thought, as Team Shingai, we need to take a step back and think about the timing that we put stuff out. And I think a lot of musicians responding to that. There's been some amazing artists that have had music ready, including us since March. But because of what's going on in the world, I feel like we will most likely release another single or two before, and just kind of respond and make the time to listen to what the world is saying and listen to the vibes that are coming out from the universe. Because I kind of feel like it's not the time to be going on some big promo trail and like, buy this, buy my album, buy this, buy that, buy that. It doesn't feel right. I think it's really important to share music with people, because people need music now more than ever, in my humble opinion. What we're going to do is most likely push back the album to the autumn and just give everyone a couple more singles in the spirit of WarDrums over the summer, just to sort of keep bringing us together and tiding us over. But it doesn't feel right to go and, you know, push out a big promotional, do you know what I mean, thing for an album. I think there's a lot of artists that are, I mean, people are experiencing these things in sport as well. It's not just music. It's like, when do we feel the right time to be, you know, because even though it's music and it's something to uplift people, you're still promoting it and you're still kind of asking people to buy something and to give it their attention. So I think you have to be really considerate, like, during these times, and just be flexible. If you had something ready to go next week and people are marching and people are talking about stuff, make the time to listen. Like, pause your, you know, the show must pause sometimes, is what they said on Tuesday. So that's what we're doing. We're pausing the show of the album, but we're going to keep a couple singles coming in the meantime.
Jeez. And with WarDrums, there's a sample, I believe. Tell us. I feel like I've heard it before somewhere. For some reason, I thought, for some reason, like, I feel bad that I can't remember. Like, I feel like I've heard that somewhere. Do you want to break that down for me? Like,
so
please? Is it a sample?
A couple of people have said that, oh my God, that sounds really familiar. But maybe it's, I mean, apparently it is a chant. So basically, our family, we're like Bantu, which is like most, I think there's about at least 30 countries in Africa that like come from like Bantu origin. But we are from like Zimbabwe, Malawi and Mozambique. And when I was about 9, I went to go and stay with my grandmother, who we call Gogo. For a little bit. And so that was a really lovely, you know, little time in the life of little Shing. When I came back, to play. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it cut out for a couple of minutes. Could you just start?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I was just saying that I went to live with my grandmother when I was about 9 in Malawi, and that experience left a lasting creative impression on Little Shing, and it was important for me because I was saying, like, most like brown nations, like, you know, African Caribbeans, African Americans, Asians, like music is quite a big part of your childhood, right? You know, you learn so.
Hey, sorry, I don't even know what happened. I keep thinking, I don't know if it's mine or yours. I don't know.
The devil is a liar, you know.
Yeah, like the thing just got locked off, so I had to reconnect and we come back again and we're here.
It's working now. The vibes are really nice. Thank you for asking these questions, by the way, because it's not like the usual kind of questions that you get asked, and it's nice. It feels it's nice for you to ask where that chant comes from, because
that was spiritual for me, man. I kept listening to the record over and over. I was like, shit, that I was thinking, I felt like it was connecting with me, but I even felt at a stage where I felt like, well, I feel like I should know where this comes from, or is it something I've never heard before? So I just wanted to just get some background. But I remember before it cut, you were saying about confidence and to do with the chant.
Yeah, I was saying that trip gave me confidence. So when the Noisettes got invited in 2011 to go to Malawi, of all places, to perform this amazing festival, we were like, oh my God, this is great, because, you know, I get to show the band like my family and my culture, and you know, now they can see, okay, this is where it comes from, Shing. This is where like the Shing energy comes from, you know. So basically, like, obviously, you know how it is in terms of African hospitality, Caribbean hospitality. We make people welcome from the moment they land on the plane, So that was the song that, like, literally, probably about 50, like, we went to my grand's village and there was about 50 kids, a lot of young people from the ages of, like, 2 and, like, you know, 25 or whatever. That was the song that everybody came out running and singing. I don't know. What? Can you imagine, like, dozens of people singing that, and like you haven't been there since you was a kid? It was emotional. It was beautiful. And then like my friend Sarah C had come to help me make a documentary and join the Noisettes on that trip. So we played festivals in Malawi and in Zimbabwe, and I was trying to get more knowledge about like my musical heritage and stuff. So she filmed everything, like field recording style, and recorded it. And then back to the story of how WarDrums was made. In January, once we sped it up, I had got back in touch with her that week, and we were talking about, okay, what's the next step of the documentary? And she said, can I send you some of the files that I've been working on for like all these years? Because she's like, now you've got your own album coming up this summer. This is the time for us to finish all the edits. And she literally sent we watched it together. We met up in South London and we went back and we watched it, and I saw that moment. And I was like, do you know what? I've just made this song called WarDrums. And the lyrics, what they're saying is, it's an enchantment song, which is like probably thousands of years old, which is used to welcome visitors. And so it's passed down from generations. So it means the visitors are here. We are happy to receive them. Let's hear their story, kind of thing. That's what it means in the Malawian language of Chichewa. And I thought, wow, isn't that so crazy that I've just written a song called WarDrums, which is to say to all the people out there that think they're warmongering, stop starting wars, and let's just all come together and just be humans and just all that good stuff. And I found this video of the Noisettes' whole team being welcomed in my family village, where they cooked up, stayed up all night, cooked everything, looked after us. And I was like, wow, they're singing this chant, which is deep. The visitors are coming. Let's make them feel welcome and hear their story. Let's welcome them and hear their story. So I was like, wow, if this was like merged with WarDrums, how deep is that? Because those songs that have been sung, for thousands of years, look what a lot of people went and did when they got that welcome. You know, they reacted by, you know, kind of, you know, pillaging or, you know, colonizing or rape or doing all these awful, unimaginable things, when actually I thought, wow, that's the song that could have been sung in the 18th or 19th century or in the 1920s and 30s when, you know, colonialists who were looking for what they were looking for were in that area, which was then called Nyasa land. So I just thought, wouldn't it be a really beautiful flip, so that for them that are interested, I can tell them the story, like for you or Eduardo or all these people, I can tell you the story. But I just thought it was a nice, what do you say, like a juxtaposition. You've got this happy tune and you've got these kids who are the future, really, going, you might be a foreigner, but we're welcoming you.
Yeah, love that. I love the way I feel you, sister.
I flipped it.
Yeah, and I love the way you started with it and you ended with it as well on the record, which was brilliant,
exactly. Because that's just amazing to think that, like, you know, with Black Lives Matter, it was crazy how relevant that was, because obviously in Black Lives Matter, what's been going on over the last 3 weeks, and which is a really like important development for me in Black Lives Matter, is the fact that we are now kind of realizing that there's a commonality with, you know, with the suffering and the pain of all peoples, of all African descendants. So all Black people, obviously we descend from Africa, and some of us had their journey in different ways. And, you know, slavery is not the only story of people of color, right? And neither is colonialism. That we get to address, and people don't, a lot of people, maybe a lot of African Americans don't realize how equally brutal you know, colonialism is, or the strife for empire. I mean, it's still happening in parts of the Caribbean, it's still happening in Africa, it's still happening in Asia. So this Black Lives Matter has brought up some really beautiful and important questions, so some really hard truths, but some really beautiful conversations have come up where people are like, wow, okay, you know, if we're going to support different movements within Black Lives Matter, we all, like, if one of us suffer, I feel like all of us suffers, and we all need to know our stories. Like, we just need to know Black history, period. And Black history is not just about slavery and, you know, the post-African American voice, which is the loudest voice at the moment that dominates, because they've miraculously, amazingly come together and managed to create their creative industries and things so they can tell their stories. There's a lot of other African descendants around the world who are still building their industries, like film and TV industries and music industries in the Caribbean. They're coming up now. You know, artists in the Caribbean are coming up now with different narratives. Artists in Africa are coming up with their own narratives and stories, you know, about the warriors and the beautiful ancient kingdoms that is all of our histories, all of our inheritance. So yeah, I was glad that WarDrums was kind of weird, relevant.
And we do a thing within, you know, we're still, you know, so it's a WarDrums, a deep record. So I do a thing called a lyric check. So I was checking in with a couple of the lyrics where you say,
oh no.
I'm paying attention, I'm listening. So just want to check in and tell me what the meaning of these lyrics are here, like, you know, the deeper meaning. But, you know, you can break it down. You don't have to go too in depth, but you can just give me a little taster. Can you feel the drums of war?
Woo! Okay, that means that if you want to threaten it, then you better be able to bring it. Like he who cast the first stone. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. It's like, don't be throwing around terms like war if you don't know what the sound of war drums actually sounds like. Like if you've never been affected by war directly, it's not a light term. For me.
That's deep. And you say, if they don't know, how do you grow?
Okay, so if they don't know, then how do it grow? That means that the people that are threatening, I'm going to beat this one and I'm going to kill that country and a people, if they don't know, then how do the rest of us grow? So maybe we have to teach them. Or maybe they're going to learn the hard way, which I hope not, because I don't advocate violence. But if they don't know, they are the people in charge. They are the people that have been voted for to make this civilized world a so-called better place. So if them think they have control and they know, but they obviously don't, then how can we grow? You know, the seeds we sow are far from nourished. You know, we're all out here working hard to make sure that their economic dreams are coming true, but not to the benefit of everyone. It's not sustainable. So if they don't know by now, then how do we grow? It's time to stand up, nourish, flourish. That's what it means.
And your writing style, do you pen stuff? Are you somebody that's in the studio writing music? Are you someone that's off the top freestyling? How do you write? Are you out and about? Are you homebound for writing? What's the process in your mind when you're delivering records?
I love being in the studio and I love writing. To be honest, I feel like because of lockdown and stuff, it's been great to do this stream and to be creative regularly. But I'm really hungry to create new music now, man. I feel like I'm more creative now than like I've ever felt, and I'm really grateful to have had like a good like decade of experience of making music in different genres. Thank you, Mr. Clark. Thank you, Stuart. It's powerful times. I need to come correct with you guys. I got to give you something powerful, like, you know, with everything that you're all going through. I can't come with some dryness. So yeah, I feel like now, because I've like been blessed enough to be able to create music in different genres like house, R&B, soul, whatever you name it, I'm just so hungry now to collaborate with new artists, up and coming producers. I just feel ready, man. Like, so Dan, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of artists and producers that you know.
100%.
I feel now's the time for us to cross-collaborate more, especially artists of colour. I feel like we are too boxed into too many genres sometimes, or we're missing out on that power of collaboration that I feel like a lot of white artists are really entitled to, the power of like these mad, beautiful collaborations. Like you get bands like Gorillaz who like manage to have like, you know, African music on their records. They mix it with rock and roll, and they have hip hop. They have amazing, you know, collaborations with like, you know, cartoonists. And I just feel like, you know, it's such an amazing moment for people of color to really like bang out some very incredible projects, because, you know, we're all so diverse in our style of music. You know, I love so many different types of music, and right now I'm hungry to create more. I don't feel like I'm doing enough, to be honest, at the moment.
Definitely, we'll definitely talk about that. Definitely got to connect you with a lot of people for sure. And
yeah, any suggestions for collabs, man? You should put it out there, because I feel like that's something that a lot of artists, I think as a female artist of color, sometimes it can be quite daunting to have that confidence to just like reach out to another artist that maybe you're feeling and be like, hey, do you want to collaborate or do you want to do something? I feel like it's something that doesn't happen enough, you know, in our community, and I would like to see it happen more, because we just got so much to offer right now. Some crazy remix mashup collabs. Like I want to see, like, you know, I want to see your Skeptors and your like Stormzy's collaborate with some brown girls that play guitars and play, you know, get to rock out. I want to see like Nova Twins get to do stuff with like, I don't know, whether it's like Moses Sumney or like, I don't know, crazy remix people, or I want to see like R&B people coming out of that shell a bit more, and just like, you know what I'm saying? Like I want to see an explosion right now.
I've got something for you already, because I saw something. I was doing a bit of research on you, yeah, and I saw a clip. You was out on an award show or something, and a quite popular female rapper right now, very relevant in the scene right now, Miss Banks, jumped into your video and was just talking about how much she rates you, you know, respects what you're doing. She's been a fan for years, had a real fan moment with you, and that was real dope seeing that. And I'm just thinking, that's you, like, you know, your vocals, your indie vibe and your soul vibe mixed with that, that would be a crazy something right now. Her raps, you know. What's your thoughts on that? Like that sounds like a link up there.
Bring it, because like I said, like it can be sometimes hard for us to directly communicate, because you know, once you're in like the machine of it and you've got like your management, you've got your label, and you've got your hustle on, it's just about, we all just got to connect each other, I think, in the black community. Because sometimes it feels a bit weird to like, you can't just slide it. I feel like a lot of male rappers are good at doing this, or like slide into the DM.
I'll just
like,
slide in, like,
but can I get some bars on this? Like, girls aren't really gonna do that. Do you know what I mean? You know, it's like you know. And I thought so. I would love to do a track with her. I think she's one of my favorites. Like right now in the game, I know she's gonna have like an amazing career like ahead of her. She's not just here for tonight. You know what I'm saying? She's here for the journey, and yeah, she's just like original. Like I love the way that she presents herself, and she's like proper original in terms of her style, and like the way that she reps Africa as well. Love that. Like she's, you know, always repping Uganda and Bantu, and you know, goes and does, you know, pops records and events in Nigeria and wherever. That's what we should be doing. Like we should be global. We should be hanging out with each other in different places, you know, hooking up, booking a studio in you know, in Joburg or Manchester or Kingston or wherever, and just giving everyone a few months to get their things in order and going and just making some indescribable situations. So yeah, I mean, if you know, hopefully, you know, if it's meant to be, the universe will make that happen. But I love that idea. She's dope.
Yeah, that's love. And let's take it back a bit real quick. Like, so Shingai, the name courageous. That's the meaning, the term of the name.
Yeah. So, did I just hit? Tinashe, Little Sims. Woo! All of that. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Josh. Woo.
I love that. Miss Banks, Tinashe, Little Sims. Yeah, that's all along the lines, man. They will be powerful. Real.
It's just like basically like these records that we're all making individually are shut down records anyway. Like, it's incredible. But can you imagine if and that's something I think that the African Americans do really well. And I feel like that really helps to amplify their voice in terms of like really important movements like Black Lives Matter, because they jump on each other's tracks, they jump in each other's videos. And I think here it's coming now. But it still could be a lot more accelerated, and it feels like, you know, people are still kind of like have to make the industry and the managers all kind of get together, and it's like, you know, and it's all a bit like we're getting there. But in terms of my name, yeah, it needs to be bold, to be courageous, and to basically don't give up. That's what it means. Which is good and bad, because I have bad days as well. I'm a human being, obviously. So when I have my days of doubt, or I'm like really like unsure, like if I'm doing the right thing or blah blah blah, then I kind of like, if I speak to any family member, it's just annoying, because then they're just going to remind you, hey, you know, your name is Shingai, da 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 da. And sometimes you just need to be able to be in your feels.
Your feelings, sit with it.
But yeah, that's what my name means. So it's a double. It's a blessing, but also it can feel like there's a bit of pressure. Like, I've got to be the one in the family that like lives up to my name, and sometimes that can be like a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, definitely. You know, because obviously in a time where, you know, mental health is very important, and just to keep balance with that, our minds, you know, and what's going on up here, you know, and all the pressures and responsibilities and all of this thing amongst your own life. So yeah, and the way like I seen your career and, you know, what you've been doing, you know, you've been very powerful. You know, it's been a very powerful message you put out there. Just the way you know, you've gone through different genres that sometimes you may have been stereotyped to not even, you know, shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? Like, people looking at rock, black sister doing a rock indie and this kind of thing, killing it. I remember some of the early records, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And at a time where it's a different time to now, to your early part of your career, but there were definitely powerful moments, you know, that are part of your history, which I don't think will ever be forgotten. So I have to commend you on that. But for your mental health, being a strong one, you know, because who's looking out for you? Like, what's like, you know, who do you go to, you know, for?
That's funny you should say that. And also, you know, thank you for the people who are just showing this conversation and this moment in time so much love. Eduardo, Baby Faye was just saying the internet is making a lot of us, you know, like, it's challenging our mental health, making us go crazy was her word to think. But yeah, we do all need someone. And I feel like one of my problems is that sometimes I'm not very good at like saying I have a problem. When I do, I'll kind of just sort of sit up in my room until it kind of goes away. But then I find that like sometimes if I haven't spoken about it a week or two, it might come out randomly, like in a conversation. Do you know what I mean? Something else might frustrate me, and then I'll say to whoever I'm speaking to, yeah, and this and that, and they'll be like, oh, but that's how you felt last week. Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I've got quite a lot of siblings who are amazing, but all completely different characters. And I've got a lot of nieces and nephews. And during lockdown, they've been quite a big part of me, because I felt like over the last 10 years, like I spent so much time. Thank you, Baby Faye. Yes, let's support each other. We're trying, innit? But I felt like over the last 10 years,
don't crash, please don't crash. Please don't crash. We're good. Oh no.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you good?
For some reason the video was.
Yeah, Instagram,
Did you
man.
catch any of that?
No, I didn't catch that bit.
I'm so sorry. So I said sometimes I feel like because I'm now with my family members, there's probably about like maybe 12 to 15 of us, like brothers, sisters, aunties, cousins and nieces and nephews. I have a little bit of this thing. It's like tour guilt. It's like the guilt of like having been away for a lot of the last 10 years. I've been the family member that's like always like missing people's birthdays or not quite, catching, or I've missed like a couple weddings. Do you know what I mean? It's like, obviously in black families, you can't be missing people's weddings. So.
Yeah, you'll never forget.
Babe, honestly, I miss my sister's wedding, and I'll never forgive myself for it. Honestly, so like it's funny because since lockdown, we're all here under the same roof, and actually, a lot of us as siblings haven't lived together since we were like 15 or 16, since we were teenagers, isn't it? Like before we went uni or left home. So it's really like means a lot to me. You've asked me that question because those themes have been coming up to me. Like I've been asking myself, who do I go to? And it's funny about what Baby Faye was saying, because there's something really, it can be strange when it's people that, you don't like kind of vibe with, but I've met a few people like online and stuff like, through Instagram or like yourself. I haven't met you in person. Lara introduced us to you on Sunday or Monday, and you've been, blessing us with supporting what we're doing and stuff, and we support you too. But I feel like, now I'm learning about like the power of the extended family, and because I haven't got to spend so many amazing moments with my family that I love and who love me over the last 10 years because of my dream. And I felt like my dream was really important because I wanted it to raise them up and to give all of us, the next generation, that I can do it too spirit. So a lot of sacrifices have been made, and some of that has meant that some of my close family relationships are not where they should be yet. Yeah. And so in terms of who I go to, this conversation is strangely therapeutic. And who would have thought it? I mean, obviously, I'm not saying I can't talk to my family, but I'm finding that I'm learning to have the confidence to know when it's a safe space to discuss things with people that might not be family, because sometimes that might be quicker because you're just talking about an isolated problem and you're trying to find a solution through that problem, rather than if you sometimes go to a family member, then they're going to bring all this other stuff into it sometimes.
Trust me.
But I'm saying, I don't know, how about you? Like, who do you go to in these times because there's a lot of deep conversations coming out.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I know I'm not supposed to ask you the questions. That's a bit cheeky.
I try to keep it to you, You're the special one right now, You're the special one. But just on
other man, we're holding space for each other.
Just on a quick one with me, yeah, I hear you, because sometimes when it's back to the family, all the issues, it can get a bit, then other stuff's getting drawn out, then you're swinging out different conversations about this one and that one, and it gets a bit much mentally. It's a very, I feel like with family, it's a big emotional attachment on all sides, So I feel sometimes, maybe if you're talking to someone you don't know that well, as you said, it can be it can be therapy at the same time. But I feel like with me, sometimes I even just go to stuff like just YouTube and stuff like that. Even not people. Sometimes just I go on YouTube and listen to stuff that help my mental.
Uplifting.
Because I said it because I used to a quick secret between everybody that I used to be a rapper when I first started, like in media. I used to be a rapper back in the day, and I remember I wrote a lyric and I said, YouTube quotes are like my father figures, gaining most inspiration of these other N-word. You know what I mean? So I said that in a song, like, because that was my truth, because it was like, my dad passed away when I was pretty young. So I felt like, no, it's calm, but I just felt like when I felt like, when a man, they said the man-to-man talk and all this stuff with your father and all this kind of thing, I just felt at a time. I used to go on YouTube and just watch men are respected, their journeys, ladies are respected, and wisdom and knowledge, and just take from that. And that's something that I've always done up to now. So surprisingly, stuff like YouTube helps me, you know what I mean? If there's no one around, that can become a friend. If it's not people, advice, wisdom from YouTube, there's plenty of it. And as I was saying, that was kind of like a father figure certain years in my life. It sounds crazy sometimes when I think about it, but I put it in the lyric, like literally.
I love you said, and I love the lyric, and I love what Mr. Clark said about that's the beauty of extended family, and maybe that's the new, with the times that we're living in, we are learning how to see the whole, the whole of humanity as one potential, is our potential extended family. And you know what's really crazy? Like, as soon as we just talked about how family sometimes is hard to sort of like get the courage and the confidence to just connect with them, like with consistency. Like one of my most beautiful family members literally just joined the live. Leo, I love you so much. I know you're in Australia, and I'm really, really bad at like keeping in touch, but I love you so much. And yeah, it's crazy because sometimes like, Leo and I will be like liking each other's stuff on Instagram because we're so far away. And, sometimes to have those conversations where you just go through like the last 6 months or the last year, it is a beautiful thing. But sometimes it's, you have to find the right position to give yourself like the confidence of your spirit to be able to do that. And then sometimes you overthink it and you're like, do you know what? Maybe family don't need that. They just, something that we're all figuring out. But when you just said that, what you said about family, one of my beautiful family members just joined the live, and there you go. So God is listening, man. We're all yes, beautiful. And serendipity, I think they call it.
And tell me
thanks
about
for sharing. Well, thanks for sharing that. That was pretty. Yeah, that was moving. It really was.
No problem. Tell me about your mum's record collection and some of the records that inspired your creative journey.
Oh gosh, yeah. So yeah, my mum's like the records that my mum would listen to was everything from Bob Marley to Fela Kuti. There was a lot of reggae and Caribbean music growing up in our household. Because we've actually got like a Jamaican contingency, big part of our family as well, through like Auntie Shirley, was my dad's second wife. So we also grew up in Southeast London. So I don't know if many people know, but like there's certain areas of London where you get quite big musical legendary communities. Obviously, we know Portobello and Carnival is one of those communities. Harlesden is one of those communities. Another one of those communities is kind of like Peckham, New Cross, kind of Deptford. There's a lot of sound system culture in the 70s, 80s, and like early mid-90s, I think. So I grew up with a lot of that, and my mum was always going to sound systems and stuff. And like, my mum and my aunties would, we would be babysat by different people when they all needed to go to the dance. Yeah, they used to go to dances and stuff like that. Yeah, they used to go to the dance and like we used to watch them get ready to go out and be like, oh my God, is that what mum's wearing? And you just wanted to be like them. Like the outfits were just amazing, the gold lip, the beehive hairstyle with all kind of stuff going on. So I grew up with a lot of amazing, African music and Caribbean music, and a lot of pop stuff as well from America, like hip hop and a lot of black music from America and stuff. So I was really fortunate to have that. But also, my mum is really into like guitar music because in Zim, like when Zimbabwe used to be called Rhodesia, when it was like the colony, they had a lot of African countries were given a lot of like instruments by these missionaries who wanted to convert them from the tribal like devil's music and get them to play all things bright and beautiful and all this kind of stuff. So like, can you imagine like countries like Congo, like Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, Ghana, Nigeria, they were like, obviously making their own versions of stringed instruments probably before the missionaries came, but they started playing their own rhythms on the guitars, similar to what happened in Jamaica, after the folk roots culture, people like Bob Marley and Peter Tosh, they went electric and they played guitars because a lot of the, let's say the colony or the missionaries gave them these instruments, but they were like, we're not going to play it like you do, we're going to do it our own thing and we're going to spin it in our own way. So I grew up with a lot of guitar music, like from Congo and stuff like that, and my uncles were in a lot of bands as well, and my uncles played guitars, saxophones, and sang. One of my uncles was a drummer. So I really grew up and just probably took it for granted at the time. But music was just like just a constant soundtrack.
Wow, love it. And South London, you mentioned Deptford, Albany Theatre. How did that shape your creativity and your personality?
Hey, oh my God. So I just mentioned Zimbabwe, and Ryan Correa just joined he's an amazing composer as well from Zimbabwe, and he also did the soundtrack for the first Zimbabwean film that has gone to Netflix, Dan, which we need to let you know about. That went to Netflix last Monday, so it's been out a week. Woo! Oh, I love that! I love your medal, the trophy, sick.
We got medals too. We got medals, champion the medals as well.
Ooh, that's dope. I love it. It's so uplifting. But yeah. So I also have a cameo. I have a part in this Zimbabwean film. It's called Cook. And Ryan Correa is the composer who did the soundtrack. So yeah.
Again, quickly.
It's called Cook Off. The Cook Off. Definitely, yeah. It's an upbeat rom-com. It's just a feel-good story, And funny enough, you don't see many feel-good movies from that part of the world. People just usually want to make films about the same kind of controversial stuff. But this is such an uplifting family movie. I highly recommend it. Not just because I'm in it, but it's a great film. But yeah, so you were asking me about the Albany, which is in Deptford.
Yeah, of course. Albany, Deptford, South London. That's an area I grew up in. I'm originally South London.
Whereabouts?
Well, I grew up in Forest Hill.
Oh my God!
Whole of Lewisham Borough, Catford, Lewisham, New Cross.
You've done the rounds, bro.
Everywhere. How Lewisham is. Yeah.
Small.
Yeah, small. The whole place.
It's small, but it makes big noise. For a bar that's so small, we make a whole heap of noise.
Yeah, big culture. Big shout to all the musicians there.
So exactly. Forest Hill, so there's a big convent on the hill called St. Francesco Cabrini.
Okay.
Ornament Museum, yeah?
Yeah.
Next door to that, there's a school. I went to that school.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, that was my primary school.
Wow. For Forest Hill, man. Yeah, that was my neck of the woods. Deptford. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Deptford or?
I grew up in Brockley. Yeah.
Oh wow! So I know there very well. Venture Playground, Turnham.
Yeah, Venture Playground. Oh my God, I used to.
Turnham, Morley, all the whole place.
That's a really funny part of London. I mean, everyone's got their ends and stuff. I don't believe in all this postcode rivalry nonsense. But what I love about that part of Southeast London is that there is such a vibrant, diverse community. So you got, your Caribbeans mixing with the Ghanaians and Nigerians and Zimbabweans and Irish and, like Chinese and Indians. So it was just colourful, man. And I think places like the Albany gave me a space to find like my voice. It was somewhere that, there was always free stuff going on in the community. So if you wanted to learn an instrument, if you wanted to join a choir, like that was the place that you went. And, I guess obviously now, what's really sad about this current like administration that we're in over the last 10 years is that I'm hearing that most of all those things have been cut down now. Like, even if you live in Southeast London, like if you want, unless you go to MIDI Music, which is amazing, which I also went
big
to.
Up MIDI Music,
big up Wazzy, man. Big up MIDI Music. But unless you go there, places like the Albany, they are forced to kind of charge now for quite a few things so they can stay open. But I guess we were lucky, to have a lot of stuff for free. It's a beautiful round theatre space. It was where all of the big bands and a lot of the big sound systems of the 70s and 80s during the last big moment of like anti-racial, what can I say? Like there was a big moment of like anti-racial like campaigning in London. And I think there was this big fire, I think it was 1982 in which I think 16 teenagers died at a fire on New Cross Road in Deptford. Yeah, that's actually what kicked off some major riots that raised all across England, from Toxteth in Liverpool to Birmingham to Manchester to Salford to Bristol to London. And I believe that there was this amazing, infamous Battle of Lewisham. Have you heard of that?
Nah, break that one down. Battle of...
The Battle of Lewisham.
Okay.
The Battle of Lewisham is this time where the NF tried to reassert their presence and interrupt a peaceful demonstration that was going all the way from Eltham, that was going to end up picking people up through New Cross, through Deptford. They marched all the way like along the A2 to Brixton, and then they were going to march, I think, to like Victoria Park for some anti-racist huge concert, right? It was called Rock Against Racism. And then what happened was... in the Battle of Lewisham, the NF started kicking off and attacking people, and like people had to like hide in the Albany, and also apparently the Albany got burnt down in an arson attack as well by the NF, which obviously the arson attack is what it's believed to have happened to those kids that died in the fire. So that part of Southeast London has always been a big important place for, what can I say, kind of like revolutions at a local level. And like people in Lewisham Borough and surrounding boroughs like Southwark and Lambeth have always campaigned quite fiercely for like equality and stuff. So it was great growing up in that environment and going to the Albany. But yeah, I just heard that the Albany's got some crazy history where you used to have like the specials, used to have Channel 1 doing their dub stuff there. You used to have Abashanti doing big dub raves there. You had like... Tracy Chapman, like so many cool people did.
Really?
Yeah, it's a legendary place. And you know, when it got burnt down, they fundraised it. The local people fundraised because they felt it was so important for the Albany to get like built back straight away. And I think within 2 years, the Albany was rebuilt. And I think Lewisham Council or someone went.
Yeah, we good, yeah.
So Lewisham Council or someone tried to call Albany Empire, and everybody was like, no, we fundraise for this place to be open. Why do you want to call it Empire? And apparently, you know, there was the same kind of argument, speaking of Black Lives Matter, with the Hackney Empire, where for a long time people were uncomfortable about, you know, making public, beautiful spaces of art with names that were kind of dedicated to the idea of empire and what the British Empire has done, you know, and which obviously a lot of us still don't know the extent of it, and it's still a conversation that needs to be had. But they campaigned and said, look, it's Albany or it's Albany. So that's the spirit of Southeast London. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the place.
And just give one piece of advice for musicians, actors that are using the Albany right now, that know that a star such as yourself, you know, has done many works there in the past. What source of inspiration and message would you say to them currently right now? Would you share?
I feel like I would say to anybody that is creating now, you know, especially for where we grew up, you know, there was a lot of narratives subliminally that you would get in the media where like people like us were not going to sort of survive, or, you know, young black men or young black women, this is kind of like, you know, how your life should pan out. And, you know, it just feels like there's been some amazing artists that have performed at that place. Check them out and you'll be surprised at the history of that place. And also know that it's an amazing time for you to be an artist. Like, yeah, it can feel frustrating because there's still not enough that's been done to help young people cultivate their talent, and especially young people of color or from minorities or marginalized communities, LGBTI, disabled people. Like, just know that this is an incredible time to be an artist, and actually you can cultivate your art in a safe space like the Albany, because I know that since they've reopened as a music venue, they are on track to get a lot more accessible courses for like music, drama and things like that, so that people are not going to have to pay to basically learn their craft and have a space, but find your voice and you know, rep your ends and be proud of your ends, but also the ends doesn't define you as well. Whatever you're creating there at the Albany on that stage, there's no way or there's no reason why it cannot be heard on the world stage. in the next 5 to 10 years if you just build something that's authentic, unique to you, and just be proud and know that, you know what, there's been some heads that have set that up before you so that you can have a chance to just like take it like to the next dimension, go for it. And, you know, whenever you do have like any kind of self-doubt, as all of us get, like my friend Dan Blake says, know that, you know, there are lots of different ways.
Snap. Shingy? Oh, reception. Reception again. Oh, that Shingy, you there? Brushing my hair again, look at me. I don't know why that...
Hi.
Shingy! Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, but the conversation's lit though. I had to make sure that was saved, just in case. I don't want to lose nothing here, you know what I mean?
Dan Blake in the building.
Jeez,
On the ones and twos.
Jeez, inside the place. Oh my God.
Inside.
South London in the house.
Massive.
Do you remember them times when like every MC used to MC like that? Like,
yeah.
Enjoy the ride. Oh God.
Is it? Hold tight.
But you would actually go to the shop and say that, like, can I get a piece of milk?
Exactly. Margarine on the side. And a little baby sham for the missus.
Yes. But yeah, because when I saw your South London heritage, I was like, yeah, man, I love that. I'm glad you shared, you know, that wisdom and story, man. We appreciate you sharing that because you're someone that, you know, you become very successful from that, man. It was you know, your journey is very inspirational. So I want people to know the roots of that, you know, where that's come from, that energy that you took from that place, you know, to the world. You know, you've traveled over the world. I want to get into the Noisettes, your time in the Noisettes, you know, very successful group. Some of your career highlights, you know, you performed at the Olympic Games, I do believe, you know,
yeah.
Celebrations. Yeah. Don't forget the rhythm. Number 2 record, Go Baby, Go Baby, Go. Hi.
Don't upset the rhythm now.
Come on.
Get in.
Come on. Classic record. Absolutely classic. Classic vocal performance. Also, that was a number 2 in the charts. Then, you know, Never Forget You, top 20 record. Also, you know, as well as many other accolades. I could be here for a while. I want to touch on a couple of things with the Noisettes era. So I just wanted to, you know, talk about those career highlights. But I also want to touch on a couple of questions around that whole period of your life. Big up Latoya. Shout to you, Latoya. I see you, sister.
Latoya.
Music Worldwide, Dan Blake, if you're just checking in. Shingy, formerly of the Noisettes, if you're wondering. Big international superstar, we're here, we're locking in, we're chatting. Big shout to Eduardo, he's doing his thing, says Noisettes era. Okay, we're going to get into it for real. So at the height of your success with the Noisettes, what was the feeling like at the height of the success?
Well, first of all, you're in this like sensational position, and like I think I wish I could have, if I could go back to me at that time, I would have just say, babes, enjoy it. Like, you deserve to be here, sis. Like, you've earned it. And I think that, you know, like, I don't want to complain or bring anybody down. And I only say this because I actually feel like the industry is a lot better than it was, but there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of making women feel comfortable, you know, in like, when you cross over and you go mainstream and you go pop and you're in that commercial machine, it's just like not the most it's not the most nurturing and safest place for girls, but also for women of color, you know. So you're kind of often made to feel in very different ways. It can be by the way that they're organizing your promo, or like not necessarily giving you the same promo budget as everyone else. So you've got to be on the road constantly to sell, to make them numbers, right? Because you're not getting like maybe that crazy, that you're not getting that like, you know, 1 year, TV advertising budget, or you're not getting like that massive billboard outside Westfield guaranteed for 3 months. But, they might give you the little one under Old Street Bridge just as you're going to the tube station. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, you're on a label full of, I was on a label full of loads of, amazing artists and amazing bands. But yeah, I was the only person of color that was UK. Everyone else was from America. I think at the time, Kanye was on my label as an import from America. And I think there were only two females. I think it was just me and Pixie Lott that was like on the label. So yeah, it was so enjoyable. I'll never take back, like, moments on stage for me will always be treasured moments, because Dan, like, that's my office. Like, you cannot mess with that. That's my sacred space. That's where I can do what I want. If I want to cartwheel, I cartwheel. If I want to do a backflip, I do a backflip. If I want to sit there and sing Amazing Grace, I'll sing Amazing Grace in between two heavy power pop rock songs. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's my space. So in terms of the live experiences and touring, some of the best times of my life. And I still, to this day, and I know that I'm going to have a lot more of a live music career ahead of me, that was probably the most amazing time. But it was just the politics behind it and the way that I was sort of like kind of, just sort of like undermined, or not necessarily like looked after by kind of like the management and the whole kind of system. That's something that I hope no other artist has to go through, ever again. And it's great because now the labels and the management companies and, the agents, they're all starting to ask, okay, how can we do better? Because it's pointless in getting musicians to cheer people up and to make people happy all the time if they can't even do their job properly in the right conditions. So yeah, if I could go back to me then in terms of the highlights, I would just say, you got this, Shing. You deserve to be here. You earned it. You're not here just because of luck. You're here because you have versed and you have like invested your heart and soul and all of your, childhood, when everyone else got to like be on road or got to be here or got to go to this dance or that dance. I was sat at home doing my bass scales. Obviously, I did get up to no good once, a few times. I'm no angel, but there was a lot of sacrifices that went into that. By the time I actually blew, I felt like I could only really enjoy it on stage. As soon as I went off stage, I often felt like I had to be this, sort of type of person, always friendly, always energetic, always giving, always like da-da-da-da-da. And there were times when it was just like our touring schedule, some of the other bands who were like on the label or on my agent would be like, wow, you guys are still touring. We're not going to do any more gigs for like 3 months, or, actually I just want to go and hang up with my girlfriend on the beach and like somewhere in Bali for a few months. I was like, wow, I can't really do that because, this is what I've been told in terms of like what we have to achieve. And if they're not going to give us the promo, then I better get my black ass on the road.
Let me ask you a question. Something I heard that I heard that what was it? Let me say. So I heard that for Don't Forget the Rhythm, you got paid $500.
Don't upset the rhythm. Let's never forget you and don't upset the rhythm.
Yeah, don't upset the rhythm. Go baby, go baby, go. I'm hearing that you only got £500 for the record.
No, that was for just an ordinary day. I heard you say.
I heard you say.
So that's another classic, and then there's a completely different genre
Big
as well.
classic. You know what? Hold on.
Thank you. Dammy Grace, thank you for saying you love that song. Yeah, no, I've heard people have sort of found that out recently because I think there's a lot of honest conversations going around with like a lot of musicians and especially musicians of colour and female musicians of colour saying, how can the music industry do better by us? And we've had to just kind of be brave enough to be open about our experiences where like, yeah, sometimes you'll get these amazing bangers and, it's like it's the producer or it's the, the kind of writer that, not the writer, producer, or, everyone else gets the credit and you don't even know who these people's names are. And I feel like that's unacceptable now. It's 2020. And I obviously, in 2011, 2012, I still didn't have the confidence to fight for myself to have a proper contract or to have my contribution in the song kind of recognized. Now, obviously, that wouldn't happen because I've got a really, really nurturing team who are all about fairness. Oh my God, remember, it's like, who do you need to fight? But yeah, that was really normal.
Oh no, frozen right in the middle of the story.
Are you with us?
Yeah, it froze. It's freezing. Hello. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. All right. To take it back a bit, rewind it a bit. So
yeah, I was gonna say. So wheel up, come again. Wheel up and come again.
So I just want to. The record. Give me the title of the record because I know the record, but like, what is the record actually called?
So it's called Hey Hey, and it says Hey Hey by Dennis Ferrer. But sometimes if you check, it will say Hey Hey Dennis Ferrer featuring Shingai. And the problem with, I guess, like around that time, I just didn't really have someone fighting for me to have a fair deal. So it was very much. I think it was like I must have got probably somewhere between $500 and $1,000 and kind of got told to sort of kind of go along and actually subsequently I heard that, it's made so much. I mean, it's a great song and that's why I wanted to be part of it because I really loved the work of Dennis Ferrer, and I love a lot of house and electronic music. That's a big part of my background as well, like, going raving and stuff. So I really wanted to be a part of that track. And then they actually wanted to even change my name to Miss Noise. So they wouldn't even have to put my name on the song. And, it's just, thank you, Russell. But that's the kind of stuff that we were going through, like, as people of colour and as female. They wanted to scratch any association of me with the song. And if I'm honest with you, I was so busy touring my ass off and just wanting to be as, to just work as hard as I could, that it was just another one of many things like that actually happened, bad contracts and all that kind of stuff. And I just kind of had to keep it moving. I didn't have time to sit there and cry into my Travelodge pillow. Do you know what I mean? Or whatever it was. So maybe obviously now we're going to find that those conversations are going to reopen again, because there's so many artists from, even people like Lauryn Hill and like Michael Jackson and even huge artists that would happen to. And now that it's 2020 and a lot of music companies and record labels and agents and not Warner, but like, major labels, Warner being one of them, they've all sort of posted these big, these black squares 3 weeks ago saying, like, we're with you. What can we do to make sure that we're doing business with brown people, with black people equally, people of colour? Black Lives Matter. We want to all do better across all industries. So, now's the time, I guess, you're going to probably find a lot more of these conversations happening, and you're going to find that there are so many hits that we know and love that could you really say what the singer's name is? That's just wrong. I feel like it doesn't sit well with me. Like, if I've written a song with someone, or if I've had someone sing on a song that I've written, they've still brought their essence and they are the carrier of this piece of music. How am I not going to make sure that people know that they're part of it as well? How am I not going to want them to be credited? For me, it doesn't sit well, and I feel like hopefully, we're getting to the end of that. And it's just a shame that it's because of the byproduct of Black Lives Matter that these conversations about how people of colour are treated in business are happening now. So Ella, exactly. Nina Simone, thank you. Joan Armour Trading. There's a documentary about her as well. So now is the time for us to sort of like maybe just even hold some of our creatives accountable, because there's a lot of people of colour as well that have signed other, kind of innocent people of colour into these contracts where they were shackled, for their careers, and it ended up messing with their mental health and leading them down all kinds of dark avenues. So me, myself, I have no kind of like ill thoughts or ill will. I actually just feel bad for a lot of people that have made a lot of money at a lot of, the expense of other people's talents, in terms of like how, are they going to sustainably going to be able to enjoy that money and that success if at some point the people that were part of that success aren't recognised?
Yeah, they've fucked over. Yeah, man. Thank you. I really appreciate you being honest about that story. It hurts me, man, because that really, I'm trying to think when I heard that record for the first time. Yeah,
it's still popping. Like to me, that record.
That record is a powerful club anthem. You know what I mean? It's a true classic. Like, your vocal performance. The way you smashed it with the lyrics. You done an amazing performance, man. And I'm just saddened that happened to you, man. Really, this conversation, it needs to be had, and people need to be accountable, going forward, with what they're doing and deals being made and being shared, for this not to happen, going forward again, and
But you making space for us to be able to have these conversations in a safe space where there's it's actually really good vibes. Like we're having this conversation and we're able to still shed light and be like, do you know what? I feel like we are helping, this not happen to other people again in the future. So, there might be someone on this live who's got a friend who's a manager or who's a friend in a label, and they're thinking, oh, how can I do this deal? I've got an artist, they're just coming up, and, I want to make sure. And so, at least people are asking the right questions now. We can't change the past. If other people want to come correct where they know they've dealt with people unfairly in the past and they want to come correct now, then yes, by all means, so please do so. However, a lot of other people who have been wronged, it's too late. Like their whole careers were damaged, their livelihoods were damaged. Some of them aren't even here anymore. Do you know what I mean? So as long as it doesn't happen again, and people are now asking the right questions, and yes, it does concern fairness. Like it does come down to this whole supremacy thing that we're talking about, because a lot of those music business models, they weren't set out. They've been the same model for the last 60 years. So they haven't been designed with women in mind. They haven't been designed with, with the equality and the fairness of black people in mind. They haven't been designed. They've been designed so that, it's an 80-20 situation. And a lot of, the white bosses of these companies who designed these contracts over 60, 70 years ago, designed them so that they could benefit from them. So it's not just happening in the music industry. It's something that we're now hoping to look at everywhere. But this time we want results, because we're not going to be marching up and down every 2-3 years. We don't have that sort of time. I think that now is the time to, bit by bit, industry by industry, to get some movement, shed the light, shed the truth, create the safe space for people to share their light and share their truth. And then let's find solutions. We don't have to stay in the problem. We don't have to sit in the fields of the problem, but we do need things to come to the surface now. So anyone who does have experiences that they feel like they're holding back, I think, just try and find a safe space to talk about it, because then you're actually helping a lot of these companies, which obviously that's not completely your job, but you're helping these companies figure out the right way while they collaborate with us to do things for the future. Time for revolution, exactly. So, yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Tell me I would say, a musical adventure, a fun story that you had. Wow, in the Noisettes. What was a funny moment? Standout, classic story that you always tell.
Mate, listen, there's never a dull moment. Like Dan is the best person to get into any kind of scrapes with. He's hilarious. He's South London as well. He's from Tontonite.
Oh, big up Fort Neve. Yes.
Yeah, Fort Neve, Croydon, them man, they move hectic in the best way.
Stormzy, them sides, yeah.
Yeah, they love a good laugh. They love pranking, man. You know what I mean? They love all this pranking and stuff.
Yeah.
So actually, there's been there's been so many funny stories. There's been a lot, but one that springs to mind is that I might have told before was, so we first got we tried to get signed in the UK for what felt like ever, and no one was really had any time or any dime for us.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to go to America, which is actually what a lot of, if you look at the last 10 years, there's been a lot of UK black artists that haven't necessarily got the love here, but they've had to go to America, and then things tend to kick off for them. I don't just mean musicians, I mean actors and directors and writers and stuff as well. So we were on that boat as well. And we're like, we had an amazing opportunity from Motown Records. We had meetings with LA Reid from like Def Jam, and it was just kicking off. It was incredible. Going from like no one wanted to like even book us here, so we had to like put on our own, events and gigs and squat parties and sell our own like CDs and stuff, like from the back of the van, like after gigs and stuff. It literally started from the bottom. Now we're here, kind of thing. But yeah, when we went to Motown and we'd finally got signed, the label wanted to sort of treat us after we finished writing the album. She's gonna be a great hit. She's gonna be amazing. Oh my god, yeah, you're gonna be a star. Cigar. You're gonna be a star. It's gonna be great. So they decided to treat us for a little holiday. Which was so nice after we've been recording, and we've been away from our friends and families for like nearly a year, which was massive for us because I'd never been away for that long like before, and so they sent us to this resort in Desert Hot Springs, which is near like where Coachella is basically, so Palm Springs.
Palm Springs, yeah.
Hot Springs, yeah. And they were like, you're going to love this place. It's a spa. It's, oh my God. And when we went there, there was a bit of like a strange vibe. Like we couldn't quite put our finger on it. First of all, it was this luxury resort in the middle of the complete desert. But it was like someone had shipped just enough water for it to feel like a little mini oasis. There was like a swimming pool. And there was all these like people like playing tennis and then having like sundowners and obviously like me and Dan and the drummer were the only English people in the resort, so we were a bit of a kind of we were a bit exotic. And then obviously I'm a female of color, the only one in the whole resort, and it was just miles away from everywhere. And they thought we'd have a great time. And then by day 3, like there was nothing else to do apart from like just drink these huge fancy cocktails. And you know how like Americans, like they do everything big. So when they do a cocktail, I mean, it's a pint of cocktail. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we'll have like a little martini, but to them it's like you need 2 hands to like drink the drink. So by day 3, we're like, we've played tennis, we've schmoozed at the bar with like all these people who look like they definitely made their money in the craziest ways. And then I went to sleep. I think I was like on the 3rd night, and I think the drummer was on the other side to my room. And so, I had this big luxurious headboard with jewels, and it was all made of wood and all this kind of stuff. I was like on my own in the room, like, who am I going to share that with? So I was kind of like just lying there, and all I could hear was and it felt like the headboard was just shaking. And I was like, oh, okay, someone's got lucky. This is maybe I'm gonna have to like find some earplugs or something. And I was like, oh, I can't think why, because everyone here looks like they're kind of kind of like ex-mob wives or something like that. And then the whole room started shaking, the bed started falling apart, and the headboard started leaning towards me. I dashed off the bed, and the headboard broke off the wall. And I was like, okay, no, this is weird. This is not someone just like having a bit of, looky next door. Went outside, and everyone was like in their slippers, in their robes, and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, oh my God, everybody get out. And I was like, what's going on? So it turned out that was my first experience of an earthquake.
Oh, snap.
It was an earthquake, right? And then we went outside and we could see all of these people who we'd usually seen like during the day, all dolled up with their makeup and at the bar and with their cigars. And it turned out that basically we were staying at like, what's his name? I don't know if it's like Tony Montana, but basically this hotel was built by one of the biggest mob bosses ever. And it was where people with like the most money, or people that wanted to kind of like take breaks and holidays with people like them, would go. And it was just full of like all these like semi-retired gangsters. So because everyone had to be evacuated, we were outside, and some of them were smoking their cigarettes, and one of them would break out like a hip flask in their kind of like robe, and they'd be like, oh, so what do you think of this place? And they'd be like, oh my God. And they were like, this is like this is like mob town, I mean, are you connected to the mob? And I was like, no, we're a band, we're just staying here.
Yeah, I remember taking a sip.
London. Oh, that's pretty neat. What you do? You know, like you rock and roll? Like what's your thing? And then we just ended up basically making friends with most of the people, and we were there for I think another 3 or 4 days before we went to Joshua Tree. But it turned out that the label had put us in this like literally like kind of like 5-star resort, which is almost exclusively used by people in the mob. So and then there was an earthquake, and then it was just like just hilarious. But yeah, America, man, you know, you gotta give it to them. They do everything big. Yeah, so that was quite a funny adventure.
Yeah, that's a great story. Yeah. The thing is, like, when you talk about the earthquake situation, I didn't know how serious it was until I got out there when I was like, I think I was in like one pound shop. I went into a pound shop in like Glendora in California, and then like there was an advert on air talking about, are you thinking about getting earthquake insurance? Well, this is the deal we can hook. And I was like, okay. So I think earthquake insurance is quite a thing over there, you know. So in your house, when you have a property, you got to try and, you know, you got to make sure you're logging your earthquake insurance with the rest of your household bills, because that earthquake situation be happening out there, man. It'd be rocking, you know. So
yeah. I find it amazing that a lot of people in like Nevada and the state of California, they go through like earthquake kind of training, just a bit like how we have a fire drill like in primary school. Yeah. So they know exactly like what to do, and it's like really regular. Like in LA, after that, I did experience another earthquake when we were in LA, and it wasn't as scary because I was like, oh, I know what happens, and it's really different. Like what happens during an earthquake, because you think, oh, everything's going to collapse, but sometimes it can be little things like there'll be a glass on the side and it will be going ding, 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 and you don't know what it is, and that could be a sign that there's an earthquake. So yeah, who knew? I mean, earthquakes are a big thing out in on the west coast of America.
Wow.
Being in an earthquake with people from the mob was pretty cool. And then afterwards, we all became quite close to them. Funny enough, after that, because we'd all experienced this earthquake together in the middle of the night, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's the band." You know, we went to breakfast or if we went to the pool, like, "Oh yeah, it's the band from England."
Wow, great story, man. Great story.
I still make sure I didn't get on their bad side, though. You know, it's just, you know, yeah. How you doing?
and right now, I want to ask you, you know, being in the music business, though, like, is there been a moment like where you have felt any, what can I say, where you felt any, I don't know, direct kind of any race issues directly towards you, and how do we move forward, and how can this be stopped, man, if you felt anything like that in your career so far, personally towards you? Because you know, you've been in a lot of different, you know, I can say different styles and genres, and you mix with so many different kinds of people. You know, what's been your experience, you know, your personal as a black sister, you know, in the business yourself, you know, because I've seen a lot of artists speaking out publicly about racism in the industry. You know, on mainstream TV, I saw something with the girl from one of the, I think the colour sister from Little Mix spoke out about some stuff. I think it was, what's her name? Keisha from Sugar Babe. She was speaking out. I think the dark skin sister from Sugar Babe was speaking out.
Keisha, Misha B.
Yeah. It's been popping up. So I would love to get your take on any racism towards you. How you been feeling?
Well, to be fair, like, I feel like because we already kind of delved into one specific topic that we talked about earlier, which I definitely feel was it wasn't direct, obviously, racism, but just the fact that like I wasn't treated fairly and looked after in a contract and was just looked at as like a commodity. For me, I feel like that stems from a culture in the music industry specifically of like there's just no duty of care to very much a lack of like duty of care to females in the music industry and to women of color and to people of color in the music industry. And I think that like the fact that people are talking about it now, that is like where it starts, because actually I feel like with me, one of the reasons why a lot of people will know my music. Like, you'll know my tunes. You'll know there's 3 or 4 songs we've talked about in the last hour that everybody will know, but not many people will know that it's me, you know. And I think that is partly down to this whole thing where, for me, like, in the last 10 years, I've always been speaking up about injustice. I've always been speaking up about fairness and equality. And sometimes what that's done is that it has challenged, like, my opportunities and certain opportunities in my career in terms of, like, you know, my positioning. So if I've spoken up about something in an interview where the label might just want me to talk about sell the record, sell the tour, sell the concert. If I've had an experience and that person who's interviewed me has wanted to ask about this and we've had just this honest chat, even if the whole interview was great, sometimes that interview will be pulled, or it never gets published. Or what I had in my experience was that a lot of the press that was requested for me was actually given to other artists, because, you know, there was this fear that I was just going to be myself too much. And, you know, obviously, you know, being a female of colour and, you know, being proudly, like, natural hair and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and dark skin, and just, I make music for all people, like, you know, so I don't make music for any demographic. I feel like music is the biggest unifier, personally. And so I don't want to use the tail end of our conversation to maybe add any more experiences than the ones I've spoken about earlier. But I would say that more conversations will be had, and that I'm so happy that other artists are speaking up. You know, other artists like, you know, people from the X Factor, or, you know, all of these big sort of TV shows which have their own role to play in perpetuating, you know, a certain type of stereotype of people of colour. So I feel like people are talking about it now, and the way that people are being brave right now, I just commend it. I'm so happy, because I felt sometimes that I was slightly more isolated or alone when I was talking about my experiences, you know, and actually sometimes I found it easier to talk to, you know, other African Americans about these experiences, because they're a lot more confident about speaking their truth and not fearing rocking the boat. Whereas here, it can be made quite clear to you by a big egalitarian, media platform like the BBC can let you know without letting you know that, oh, you know, we want you on the show, but we only want you to talk about this. You know, we want this bit of you. We want your finger. We don't want the whole thing, or, you know. So I feel like, yeah, it's now an amazing time for people to speak up about ways in that we can all teach each other and help everybody in the music industry just, like, develop a better practice, because the music is there. Like, it's an incredible time to be an artist, incredible time to be a musician. And what needs to happen is that we want to feel like the music industry is ready to have this kind of, you know, it might not be comfortable, but definitely a transformation or a shift is needed in terms of it looking at itself and how it's treated other artists. And that's not just in terms of contracts. It can just be little things, like if we look at the music that comes out and a lot of the, you know, stereotypes that get perpetuated, how does that make everyone else of colour feel? Does that make all the rest of us artists feel like there's only one type of person of colour, you know, that is kind of allowed? And also this thing to do with quotas, whereby a lot of companies or a lot of radio stations, like I said, who were, you know, funded by taxpayers' money and stuff like that, you know, we are excited about their content because we believe that it should be diverse, and being diverse doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, it's okay to keep on only promoting the type of content that perpetuates, you know, a stereotype of black men or in a certain way, or black women in a certain way. So I think it's a really exciting time. It's obviously a bit of a scary time, but you know, nothing good comes easy, maybe, and that's the spirit of that I've learned from, you know, from the last decade that I've had. It's the music and the desire to uplift people that keeps me going. Like, I don't want to be like saying to my nephews or my nieces, if they want to be musicians, be wary of that, or, you know, be wary of that. Or I want them to be able to go in with full confidence to go, okay, this is my art and this is how I want to share it, and not worry about, oh, okay, these are the only labels that, you know, will maybe look at someone like you, or if you do get a deal, then you've got to have extra help than everyone else might, to make sure that you don't feel trapped in something to the point where it kind of is at the detriment of your creativity. So it's an exciting time, and like I said, so many people in the industry, like, we all want it to be better, not just the artists, but the people who have these amazing companies and labels that have been built on the back of creativity. They want to do better. We all want to do better, but that means we have to listen to the stories and feel brave enough to talk about our experiences without that challenging our opportunities as artists, you know?
Yeah, man, that's deep. And just one thing, like,
babes, you know me.
Nah, you're keeping it true, man. You're keeping it true. But one thing that's been on my mind, though, I have to say, I've got to keep it true as well, is that I feel like coming from where you're from, you know, Deptford, South London, black sister, you know, coming into the game, making music, I feel like you could easily have been stereotyped to make R&B, you know, I don't know, hip hop music or whatever. But then you join like a rock band, you know what I mean? And black sister in a lead rock band, you know, killing it in the indie world, killing it worldwide. What was the energy like towards you in your own community? You know, what was the braveness to you go that way? Because I know there's a lot of stereotype. People may have looked at you and thought, she's definitely making some soul music or some R&B or something, and they hear your music and it's like, you know, you're making rock bangers, you're fierce on stage, you're doing something else completely different. And there's not many doing it at that time. You know, what was that whole thing for you? Like, you know, I just wanted to get your take on that. Wasn't that even noticeable, like, for you? What was the vibe of that? But I definitely just wanted your perspective on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was definitely challenging being that, like, crazy looking brown girl who used to walk around with, like, spikes in her hair and, like, Dr. Martens and kind of just this crazy whole kind of style. But for me, I've always been so inspired by, like I said, all types of music. And I really feel like so many of the music that we all love and appreciate, whether it's R&B and soul and, you know, UK garage with the ones and twos, or rock and roll, or, you know, certain types of guitar music, they have this wonderful ability in a way. If you really listen to it, you can trace a lot of that back to, you know, a lot of African, you know, culture and the migration and stuff, and, you know, Caribbean culture. Like I said, you know, I grew up listening to a lot of guitar music, you know, that my mum got me into, from like I said, like Bob Marley and Peter Tosh. And it's funny because there was a time when, you know, I read somewhere that, you know, he was kind of accused of, like, kind of turning his back on, like, you know, the Caribbean people because he was, you know, using too many guitars. And but for me, I feel like if you're singing from your soul, singing from your spirit, you know, we have to be careful about who we decide what kind of music belongs to who. I don't really think that the type of music belongs to anybody. And yeah, there were times when I might have had the odd, like, just slightly uncomfortable, awkward interview with, you know, with maybe a white journalist at a big, you know, rock magazine, and was like, oh, so what's it feel like to play, you know, kind of white man's music? And the only thing that's sad about that is I couldn't really ever maybe go back to, like, you know, my team or people in the band and be like, oh, I'm not sure if I really want to do an interview with that person again, because he made me feel like a bit uncomfortable, or like I didn't really belong in this scene or something. But in terms of, like, you know, our community and our own kind of diverse community in Southeast London, yeah, I got looks, but I was always given this kind of, like, yeah, go on, sis. I was always given this kind of, like, encouragement, like, you do you, boo, like, you know, you do your own thing. And sometimes I feel like, you know, we've still got a long way to come, you know, in the black community, about our confidence to be able to enjoy all types of music, because I feel like media Trust me, like media and like a lot of mainstream culture has pushed, it's almost sort of ghettoized and divided music. Like black people are only supposed to listen to this type of music, and you know, and it's I think it's a bit dangerous because a lot of the music that we get fed into our community and the people that are allowed to have the mic and get signed, it's, you know, it's kind of without saying, it's made known to them that, you know, if you're a man then you've got to be violated in your video, or you've got to be violating someone else in your video. And for me, it is a problem when you say, oh, this music is black or this music is white. Like, music is not racist, man. Music is designed to bring us together as people, not designed, and it gets used far too often, I think, as a political tool to keep certain, you know, groups of people like in their place. And I feel like now is the time that we get to discover that so much of the music that we love in pop music, you know, you will find a part of it somewhere in Africa. There's blues musicians like Taj Mahal that you know, collaborated with some incredible, you know, white guitar musicians like recently and in the past, who, like, black people would love these records. Like, fam, we would love these records. Why are we being told in certain communities? And sometimes it's an economical thing as well. We have to be careful when, you know, we let someone tell us what is black music and what is white music. And we have to be careful when, you know, we allow white people to feel like, oh, you know, I'm not allowed to play this type of music because of this. No, you are. And actually what you find is that a lot of my, you know, friends who are musicians, like I said, I've done stuff like, you know, Africa Express. I've got some incredible friends or musicians who are white musicians, and they make amazing guitar records where they are inspired by African artists, you know, like there's amazing bands that you would probably love, like, you know, I was talking about Africa Express, I was talking about Foles, The Vaccines. There's so many amazing white musicians that kind of get carte blanche to just express themselves by whatever music moves them at that time. And I feel like, you know, in terms of musical, you know, kind of genre ownership, that's something that needs to be broken down, because there's so many black people that whenever they try to make a similar kind of record, or they want to, let's say, you know, you're Moses Sumney and you want to do experimental electronica, and you're, you know, it's taken him like 7 or 8 years to get to this point where he's being repped. So there's a lot of us are missing out. Or what happens is when you do, let's say, if you're black and you put, you know, Caribbean or reggae music into your pop sound, if you're black, or if you put African rhythms into your pop sound, then often it gets sort of put into this kind of like world music corner, like that dusty corner used to go to in the 90s at our price. Like, no one wants to be in a corner, you know. And for me, like, that excites me that people are now having these conversations where I'm getting a lot of people from the man them are like, look, you know what, that ancient futures thing is dope. Like, I want to sample this. I want to get more into, you know, different rhythms from, like, you know, war drum rhythms from Burundi, or war drum rhythms from the royal drummers of Rwanda, or I want to get more into like ancient dub rhythms. And then, you know what, you'll find that there are so many amazing white bands that have successful story. Our Price. Our Price Lucian. Woo! I used to get my records for Our Price.
Our Price, you know, that's old school.
Back in the day. Woo.
That may be before my time. Our Price.
But yeah, sorry, I'm probably not really answering your question, but all I can say is, yeah, at the beginning, people looked at me like, oh, that's just Shing, you know, her, she's from the end, you know, she got her guitar on her back, like, she's doing her own flex. But now what's really beautiful is that in the last 5 years, you know, I was doing Dr. Martin's campaigns from 2010, 2011, and then in the last sort of 5 years, you can see that there's so many amazing black artists now, like in America, in the Caribbean, you know, there's huge hip-hop trap stars that are like now want to look like rock stars. They want to rock DMs and they want to rap this and they want to rap that, and they're getting into metal. That's what music is supposed to do, man. Music is supposed to
being a rock star now.
Music is supposed to disrupt the whole thing, you know. That's what, when music works well, it's when people can create without too many limits and boundaries. Obviously, we have to use our craft to the best of our ability and write songs in with whichever genres that we're happy with, or however we want to mix them. We have to write songs that, you know, come from a place that's true and authentic. We have to put stories, we have to put little melody, we have to put verse, chorus, whatever. That's great, and that's something that people in all genres can do. But the concept of like one culture being allowed to make a different type of music, and black people only allowed to make this, and white people, I just think that's really dangerous, and that belongs to a construct that I hope we can see really soon. So I'm just gonna keep mixing it up. That's what I do, because I'm a bit spoiled really when it comes to music, man. I'm like a brat. I like all of it.
I love it. Getting into the last couple of questions now. So there's your album, yeah, Live Sound Dimensions, yeah. Tell about the definition of that, of the album, and what we're going with. What are the vibes like? What are the features on it? Give us a little bit about the album. It's going to come out later on, you know, possibly to the back end of the year. We were saying Live Sounds Dimensions. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I guess for me it feels like this album is the sound of my life up until this point. I'm being a lot more kind of brave in terms of like being more honest in sort of like lyrics. I'm talking about all kinds of stuff. I could give you a little snippet of a song called South London Safari.
Please do. Safari, come on.
To get high by the dinosaurs in Crystal Palace, Malice in Wonderland. I couldn't go outside till I done my chores, or Auntie Gladys would take me by the hand.
Big
there's a lot more different bops, but I think, yeah, you know, in terms of like I hope that like Ancient Futures kind of set the stage for like the sonic palette. So the sonic palette, I'm still mixing a lot of raw live instruments from lots of different places with like quite soundscapey electronic kind of backing. So I've tried to just like harmonize those two worlds as best as possible, the live instrument world with the experimentalism of electronic programming that you can do in the studio. And yeah, in terms of the sound of my life, well, you know, I feel like the relevance of it is important because I've always been a multidimensional spirit and a multidimensional being, and I feel like maybe in the world right now we're all going into another dimension of sorts, and I feel like creativity is going to be a big part of helping us navigate this new dimension that we're all going into. I like I said, I got no sort of regrets in terms of the road and the opportunities that I've had so far. Like, it's been an incredible, I think it was like 2007 when What's the Time, Mr. Wolf came out. It's been an amazing 12 or so years. But like I said, I'm just feeling like even more like potent than ever. So you're going to just basically get a record from someone who's just had this, like, somehow been able to like carve out a decade or so of like fearless creativity. But I'm definitely wearing my heart on my sleeve a bit more on this record, and just talking about stuff that I wouldn't necessarily talk about in a song, like so obviously about, like, I've got records where I'm addressing, you know, social things, but I usually do it through like metaphors and wordplay, because I'll be like, oh, maybe that record won't be supported or pushed, or it might, you know, challenge what people, you know, expect of me as a female artist of colour in a band. I'm supposed to, you know, get the party moving, as we always are. And so, yeah, the party's happening, but, you know, there's a few moments when, you know, the lights come on and, you know, everyone finds their lighters and kind of like has a little weird deep chat and a conversation in the kitchen, you know, when everyone goes to the kitchen like 3 a.m. in a party, and, you know, the speakers brought down or something, and then half an hour later after the deep chat, everyone gets back and starts bopping again and the party goes into the next wave. So I think this record is going to be a bit like that, yeah. It's Life, Sound and Dimensions, LSD.
Jeez, can't wait to hear it. Mr. Clark says, Traveling Light was so authentic and beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely lightening the loads on all of our chests at the moment, and yeah, we're gonna have to wrap it up, unfortunately soon. But I would love to do this again, because I've got to do another interview in a bit. But thank you for, like, yeah, all the questions that you've asked and all the stories that we've managed to talk about. I can't wait to we'll send you the link for the album so you can have a pre-listen next week. But as I said, we're going to just listen to the times and be responsive to the times and sort of be considerate as possible and not just like kind of like just force out the album as was scheduled on the 29th of June, because everyone is respectively having to sort of change whatever it was that they wanted to promote and put out during these times. And, you know, that includes me as well. You know, I'm going to carry on uplifting you as much as possible for WarDrums, and we'll put another single or two out before releasing the album as a full body of work in September. Actually, it was a bit right, like listen to the times, you know.
Before you go, can you do my quick 1-word challenge before you go?
What's that?
There's basically a couple of quick fire round questions. You just give a quick reply, real quick.
All right, go on. Okay.
All right. 2 personality traits that you respect in a person.
But you said 1 word. That's 3, right? I can say 3 words.
Yeah, go. You got me there, I'm not gonna lie. Okay,
personality traits. Oh my gosh. Kindness. I'm prone to. I like people with a bit of mischief as well.
Okay.
Being in touch with your child, like your child self, and also what's the other personality trait? Humor. Yeah, kindness, humor. But I guess humor and mischief are kind of connected. But that's it. You've had my 3.
All right, cool. Best advice given.
Best advice given. Do you, boo?
Most famous person you ever met.
Oh, Will Smith.
Jeez. Favorite movie of all time.
Jeez. What now? I'm supposed to say Men in Black.
Your number 1 hobby away from your craft.
Okay. All right. So sorry. Best film? Did you say of all time?
Best film of all time. Yeah.
Coming to America is always up there in the top 5.
All right. Your number 1 hobby away from your craft.
Oh, hobby away from my craft. Bikes. Anything to do with bikes. Riding bikes. Building bikes. Just anything to do with bikes. Yeah. I love riding the bike and all that kind of stuff.
Best place you took a trip to?
Zanzibar was pretty amazing.
If you were a superhero, what would be your power?
Invisibility cloak.
If you could do...
That's not because I'm creepy, yo. Not in like a creepy way, but like just, wow, if you could be invisible and be like in certain spaces and nobody could know you were there, that would be kind of crazy.
If you could do a voiceover for any program or documentary, what would be the line you would say?
Okay. And here on the African savanna plains, we see the female lioness on the prowl, about to protect her cubs from the prey that is closing in.
All right.
Any wildlife documentary, I'd be into that. Spring Watch, Country File, that's my shit. I love that.
Quickly, build your ultimate singer. Tone.
Well, how do you mean build?
It's just like, imagine your ultimate singer, they got attributes, and you're just going to quickly build them.
Okay,
Tone.
Just big hair, all tone.
No, I mean like your ultimate singer, as an artist you would pick, that will make your ultimate singer with attributes. So like, you know what I mean? So like tone, Whitney Houston, voice, Beyonce, or something like that. Real quick.
Oh, right. Okay, cool. Oh, wow,
right.
That's different. Okay,
Yeah.
So I'd definitely say she, Tone.
Yeah.
Tone. Oh, that's tricky. Tone. Something jazzy. Something jazzy like Billy or Nina. Nina Holiday. Nina Simone or Billie Holiday. Tone.
Voice.
In terms of power, I'd say Tina Turner. In terms of just spirit, I'd say Whitney Houston.
Mystery.
Mystery? What, in terms of the singer? Like something mysterious about
What would be a mystery that would be add to your attributes? Who would you pick for mystery?
Oh, Kate Bush.
Oh, okay. Work ethic.
Work ethic.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I feel like everybody would probably say someone that looks hyper productive, but I would say that you can take your time and still get the job done. So I'd say work ethic, Bob Marley, because every time you saw him, he looked chilled and relaxed and composed. He didn't look like he was always like forcing the hustle. But he still got the tunes and he still packed in the numbers. But he didn't have that like, oh, I've got to sell, hustle. So I like the work ethic of someone that, has got their hustle, but it's also listening and doesn't feel like they have to just put out track without even getting to enjoy the process. I want to see an artist that looks like they're getting to enjoy the process of what they've created. And Bob just always looked like in all of his interviews like he was enjoying it. There was purpose.
All right, 5 more attributes to make your ultimate singer. We got vibes.
Oh, vibes. Ooh. Vibes. Oh, I have to say Tupac, man.
Wow, you went in by straight bam. Tupac.
Like Tupac or like Dre, like anything West Coast, Cali, funky, just like cars bouncing up and down, riding a ghost, riding a whip. That's the vibe.
Energy.
Energy, I'd say Kurt Cobain, man, Nirvana. Kurt Cobain or Hendrix, someone who's just like holding their like instrument of choice that they absolutely love and adore, and it just looks like a weapon of love in their hand. So yeah, someone guitar like either Hendrix or Kurt Cobain, that like as soon as they start the song, it's just like whoa, full power.
All right, we get down to the final 4 now. Personality.
That's hard. Oh, Stevie Wonder.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, man. Stagecraft.
Sorry?
All right, personality, songwriting.
Oh, man.
Your ultimate singer's interesting, though. This one is so diverse.
Yeah, songwriting.
Interesting.
I'd say this one is going to be different probably for a lot of the listeners here, but I think David Bowie, man.
Yeah, he was a G. You tuned with Freddie Mercury. That's my tune.
Yeah, exactly. Him or Freddie. Exactly. In fact, both of them.
Freddie Mercury. That's what I'm trying to say. When I was just a quick one before we go. That's when I was asking you about that kind of question. It's like, ask me. Enough times I was judged like, because I'm a big Queen fan. You know, I'm a big Queen fan, and I was judged enough times like this man. They're looking at me thinking, this man though. When that's coming out my mouth, they're thinking, he don't. He ain't fucking with Queen. But they don't even know that I fucked with Queen heavy from day. When I met Brian May, I was like...
You met Brian May?
Yeah. My Brian May story is a bit mad, though.
Oh, please come now. Bring it. Because I know I've got to go, but just let's finish with the Brian May story. Because I'm a big Queen fan as well. Huge. No.
I'll tell you this real quick, yeah. I was like, I do voiceovers, yeah. And I was going to my agent's office in like Oxford Street, like Tinchfield, Wise Buddha. Shout out to Wise Buddha. And I was going in
there too.
Yeah, so I was, Wise, yeah. So I was going in there, walking in a normal day, another voiceover, whatever. Go in reception, chilling. I see some big hair, and I was like, I know this hair. Then I was thinking, is it gone grey? Is it black? I remember he had black hair, but then I thought maybe it's gone grey. And I thought it was him, but I wasn't sure, so I just carried about my business. Yeah. And he went to sit down, and I went to the same seating area, kind of the reception bit. So I got my water, got my little coffee, whatever, sat down, and sitting front towards me, and I'm sitting here like that. And it's him, it's Brian May. So I'm just like, so I'm looking at him, I just froze for a second. But then like, the head of Wise Buddha, I think Mark Goodyear, he come in to meet him, to greet him. and take him upstairs for a session. I was like, all right, my moment is here now. I said to myself, if I get a picture of Brian May, my mum's going to go ham. My mum's going to be so happy. So I was like, Mum, I'm doing it for you. So I interrupted Mark Goodyear. I said, Mark, I said, Brian. And he looked at me and said, hey, so I'm a big fan, love your music. Put my hand out, shook his hand. I said, yeah, I'd love to get a picture of you, man. And he said, yeah, no worries. I'll be back down in a second. So he gets up with Mark Goodyear, and he literally, when I kind of feel like I have that moment to get up and take the picture, he decides just to walk off. So it never happened.
You should have just done it then and there, you know.
Yeah, I know.